DC Multiverse! What do you get when you mix one rich dude who saw the murder of his mother and father right in front of him and probably needed a whole dump truck worth of therapy, and instead started to put his efforts into learning how to beat the hell out of people and become the world's greatest detective and dress like a bat, plus another guy in someone's beat-up old hand-me-downs who can run real fast and probably can't turn his neck, and another dude who looks like somebody... he looks burnt. Well, you get today's video. I'm going to be reviewing the Ben Affleck Batman action figure, the younger Flash in the hand-me-down Batman Returns suit, and the Dark Flash, who is presumably probably also Barry Allen, but we don't know for sure, but probably it is Barry Allen. And it's a good thing that all of this fantastic artwork on the back of each of their packages is absolutely trading card worthy, because that's exactly what these guys come with. Trading card versions of the pictures from the back of the box. Each, of course, having a short bio, which you can feel free to pause to read if you'd like. And between Batman and Flash, they also come with 2 closed fists for the Bat and 4 lightning attachments for Barry. While this fine fella comes with... well, nothing. Oh, and P.S., they all come with your basic McFarlane Toys action figure stand. Okay, so let's look at them all individually. First, starting with Budget Barry. I think that it is entirely safe to say that this is the most ridiculous figure in the series, and probably the most ridiculous version of Flash I've ever seen. It was like they needed a suit to give young Barry so that he could run around and not have his clothes keep burning up because of the friction. And the Batman's like, hey, I got this old suit lying around that I don't use anymore, so you might as well use this. And then they spray painted it red. And voila. It's got the distinct looking ab armor from Batman Returns. And if we open it up, we can actually see that there's one underneath there too. You couldn't have him walking around like that, because then he'd be like, oh, it's a lovely day, let's look up at the sky. And then he'd trip and fall and... oh no, me head's on backwards! And it's also got those bat scallops all around the back and the front, looking all Kermit the Frog-like. You know what I'm talking about. Well, here, look. Batman and Kermit the Frog. Need I say more? And you can see that Barry has just spray-painted a lightning bolt over top of the bat symbol there. I don't recall there being these lines on Keaton's Batsuit back in the day, so I'm going to assume that that kind of stuff was added for the Flash. And there are details that, like, I mean, was that part of Keaton's suit? I mean, I know that the yellow wasn't part of Keaton's suit. It seems like these were the answer to the belt area lightning bolts that Flash is supposed to have. I do believe that in the movie, he's got some on his arms, too. He's got elbow pads here. They're almost like skateboard pads in case he, falls and eats dirt. And gloves from, well, I don't know where they would be from. I suppose they kind of look like Keaton's gloves, but the wrist part there, I don't know where that comes from. Barry's boots, clearly reused bat boots. Kind of weird that you can see on top of the boots there, right where the piece of articulation is, that's actually supposed to come right down to the top of the boot. And it doesn't. That's kind of strange. I wonder if this was sculpted and then they put in the articulation point. And he's got the lightning bolts on both sides and more knee pads. It is kind of odd that the back of the boots are painted straight black and then the front looks more messy like spray paint. And of course he's wearing Batman's cowl. It's funny how they substituted for the earwings. Looks like a set of headphones so that he can hear. He was probably like, hey, I can't hear in this thing. And so they gave him these. The face paint on mine is... you be the judge for yourself. He's wearing a sassy shade of peach lipstick. And it can be assured that this Barry is not very horny. Because, well, the horns are gone, right? The ears, the horns, the ear horns. There was a joke in there. Just for a quick comparison, here he is next to Batman and the other version of Barry Allen, and also Sasha Calier's Supergirl. This is how they all scale together. But really, is anybody else curious on how articulated this guy is? No, just me? Okay, well, I'm going to satisfy my own curiosities and find out, because I've been sitting on some of these points and not moving them around. That torso. Okay. I am definitely surprised. It's getting more than I thought it would. looking down with the waist. That's not too bad, but just with the chest articulation, well, it's all right. Looking back and going everywhere else, as usual though, pretty fantastic. We've got the head, and we know that the head is just on that neck piece of articulation. They've actually given Barry more articulation here than the suit would give him. Actually, it would be funny if he didn't have any articulation here. That would be hilarious. We got the shoulders with the rounded hinge. There is that little socket in there. It doesn't really do much. I'm just going to do a little check this time. Just going to pull the socket out. Oh, that's in there. Good. There we go. And put the arm back in there. It actually articulates better without that piece in there. I don't usually like taking it out because it looks ugly, but I think in this case, you wouldn't even notice. And you do get a little bit better range of motion. All right, I'm going to put it back in and continue on. He's got the bicep swivel with elbows that are double jointed, rounded hinge wrists. It's pretty good. I will say that on this one, I actually had to double check and make sure I wasn't going to wreck it because the peg in this inside this one is really squishy. It's actually a peg with a socket that goes over top, and that is inside the arm, and then the hole, the peg fits in the hole in here. Sometimes it's the other way around, but it's really skishy, so be careful with yours when you get them out of the package that you don't, you know, rip his arm off and wreck the articulation at the bicep. Of course, down here, Flash has McFarlane's groin. That's not what I meant. And it is quite articulated, as usual. Drum roll, what does he get in place of a thigh cut? It's all right. It's all right. I always want it to go out more. Sometimes I get in, but not much out. And we have double jointies for the knees, and we have, of course, now we have for the ankles, right? Hinge and a pivot and a toe. Next, let's look at the Batman. Being completely, totally, 100% transparently honest, this is my least favorite Ben Affleck suit. I just don't like how it looks like he's wearing dirt bike armor over top of the Batsuit. The only Batsuit that I like even less is this monstrosity that they threw Batman in the final episode of Gotham. Ugh, that's terrible. I could fart a better Batsuit than that. And you will notice, looking at this Batsuit from all sides, that it is not the color scheme of the movie, unfortunately. It is a completely different one.
Everybody's so creative.
Why is that? Don't know. Have no idea. But do you remember how much I didn't like the tactical suit from Justice League? Yeah, I like the tactical suit more than this one. However, Todd has done a good job with all of the sculpting on this. Like, it certainly doesn't fall short in the details category. It looks very, very good. But this head sculpt, I really just want to start right with it because it gets a lot of things right, at least as far as Batman goes. And some things are kind of weird. Like, I don't really understand why Batman's eyes are so dark as far as the paint scheme, or why the cowl and the neck piece are both gray. Yet the upper torso piece and cape are both black. Does it matter? Not really, because I don't really like the suit. But coming back to the face, I think the things that are done right with it is it has a very Batman-y look to it. And the paint applications on this, for what they are really nice. An interesting detail about this Batman figure is that not only does he use Ben Affleck's basic-looking utility belt, which is good, it suits Affleck's Batman, but also, the utility belt is not attached to the trunks portion. It's attached to a torso portion of this Batman figure's body. I'm sure that these straps, in a perfect world, should be attached to the legs right here, but then of course that would likely get in the way of articulation. I'm sure that's why they weren't attached right here to Batman's legs. You've got strapped on thigh guards right here. You can see the belts going around. You've got really overly complicated knee pads and shin guards for Batman to wear here. And, of course, his bat booties. These gauntlets give me just a little bit of an Arkham Origins feel, and this cloth goods cape is a different... Nope, it's the same. Like I mentioned in the last video, it reminds me of Undergotchis that I had when I was a kid. I'm Underman. Now, if I'm going to bring in any other Batman figures to compare this guy to, I feel like it makes sense to compare him to the previous Batfleck, as well as the current Michael Keaton figure. And if your next question was, how articulated is he? Well, we're on the same page. The torso is... Oh, I'm a little surprised. Let's just really work that. Let's just bend it to our will. You will articulate because I saith so. Well, this piece right here is a tad awkward, but he still looks down, well, not so good. This piece here definitely gets in the way, but overall, I think it's certainly a reasonable amount of articulation from the torso. Maybe more than just reasonable when I attach the waist and the neck in. Oh goodness, that looks like you fell 25 stories and landed on a fire hydrant. Ben's Bat Noodle gets an absolute metric butt ton of roundly articulation with that ball joint. Ooh, yes. Me likey very much. The arms, of course. We've got the socket, and we have, you know, right there. He can mouser size right here. Did I just age myself?
Hi, Musketeers! Hi, Mickey! Let's exercise!
Come on, everybody, and exercise.
I used to have to do that in gym class when I was in grade 1. His little pauldrony doos don't get in the way at all, and check out that. That's respectable. I like that. We've got the bicep swivel. Of course, that's going to do 360. We got the elbows, and okay. I was hoping for more, you know, but he won't be playing head and shoulders, knees and toes anytime soon. And then we've got the rounded hinge, of course, in the wrist. Ooh, I had to manipulate that into doing what I want. I had to gaslight it all over the place. And the waist, let's bend the waist to our will. Yep, that's right there. What has he got down here? Of course, he's got one of them, and it can do that. Yeah, it's all right. Pretty good. And this guy has a thigh cut on a McFarlane figure. That's a rarity indeed. And you know why he has these fan-diddly-tastic thigh cuts? It's likely so that he can ride his Batcycle. And we'll have a look at that in just a second. Of course, he's also got, say it with me, double-jointed knees. And of course, he has a rounded hinge right down here in the ankle with pivot and toe. Which means that this Batman is as posable as I think I would ever need him to be. Or at least posable enough to fit on the Batcycle. That's right. We're also looking at the Batcycle today. In all honesty, this Tron-looking Batcycle is probably my favorite of all the McFarlane Batcycles that have been made to date. It is big, really big, and thick. Really thick. It has an ever so slightly green tone to the body of the cycle. It's got that sort of weathered, scuffed up look to it, because you know Batman doesn't go back and repaint his bike every night after it sees battle damage. And there's a lot of details. I'm sure if you're a painting customizer, you could do some pretty cool stuff with this Batcycle. You've got guns right here on either side, reminiscent of the old school Batcycle from Kenner the Dark Knight Returns line. Actually, that was the RoboCop cycle first. You got big, thick tires. Look at these big balloon babies. And let's see how well they spin. That's not bad. And the back one? Not bad. We have the leather seat right here, the saddle. We have the handlebars here. They don't do anything. As a matter of fact, I don't even understand how they could in real life. I am not a mechanic, but That seems... This does seem like a little bit of a pain in the ass to ride. And for those of you wondering why Batman came with two open hands, well, obviously it's so he could grip the handlebars, silly. It's so he could ride his bike. They're too small. So here's the size of his grippy hands, and here's the size of the handles. Getting his hands on here... Don't worry, I got a trick for this. I just stick something in his hand that gets progressively bigger, like a paintbrush, and then I make his hand bigger, like that, and then I stick his hand on the thing. And there you go. I just stick it on the handlebar there, and then I do the other one. And this is what I do also with weapons that don't fit. Just get the paintbrush, it wedges the hand open. Whoops, I pulled his hand off it, and then I pull it down, and stick his hand on the handlebar. Ta-da! And there we have it. Batman looks like he's never rode a motorbike before. Hang on a second. And ta-da, voila! He's on his bike. Although he has two pegs there. I don't really know which peg I'm supposed to use for his feet. They're on this one now, and that's where they're gonna stay. He does fit nicely though, doesn't he? And that neck articulation works out really, really well. And of course, before I end the video, I'm gonna have to compare this Batcycle to the other ones that McFarlane has released over the years. I got the Batcycle, I got the Skull Bat, I got the White Knight. That's all I have. I don't have the other motorbike. There's one motorbike I'm missing. I don't have that one. Okay, and now, I know we're doing this a little backwards, being that we reviewed two figures and a Batcycle, but now we're gonna review the final figure of the video, the Black Flash. And believe me when I tell you that this guy looks, in person, like he is entirely made out of either road tar or bubblegum that has been pressure washed off the city streets of New York City. You know, like when the bubblegum goes all black? That's what this guy looks like. He looks like melted plastic or an incredibly burnt steak. Like, I have no idea what I'm looking at here. Why does it look like this? It has been surmised that it is quite possible that he may have the genes of Doomsday, that it was, you know, instead of Zod, that was, you know, made into Doomsday, that perhaps the Black Flash is part of that, and I'm not entirely sure. This piece right here on his wrist makes me question everything. That is clearly not a melted piece there. That is a leftover piece of something that this character was wearing. As maybe was some of the other protrusions, I'm not really sure. Looks like he was eating a hot dog and spilled some of the ketchup and mustard down his shirt. Nope. It looks like he was using the ketchup and mustard and he squirted it on his hot dog and it went up into his face and down his shirt. And now he's really upset about the whole ordeal because he's allergic to water, and if he gets wet, then he vomits everywhere, and also a bunch of other small Flash babies pop out of his ass. And you can't feed them after midnight because then there'll be a whole lot more of these looking guys. Apart from the ketchup and mustard that have been blotted all over his face, his eyes are very strange. Again, I have no idea what's going on here. This is just all kinds of weird. Is he cool looking? Yes. Does he look like he belongs in Todd McFarlane's Spawn action figure series? Also yes. Anywho, how articulated is he? Well, torso is just balls to the wall articulated. That is fan-friggin-tastic. I loves this very much. Waist, oh my goodness, nothing put to waste here. No wastefulness indeed. And the arms, you have the rounded hinge, and there is a socket up in there. Not really sure why. It wouldn't really do much, and it's not hiding the ugly articulation point. We know the socket doesn't help the articulation, and his spiky football pads prevent his arms from going up any higher than that. And if you wanted his arms to go up like this, well, you're SOL, because they just ain't doing it. He's got his little bicepi here, the little swivelly bicep that goes round 360. Of course, we have the double jointed, well, that's actually That is a satisfactory amount of articulation. Not that I would ever really use it that much on this particular figure. And of course, the wrists with the molded rounded hinges do ample articulation as far as I'm concerned. And then we have down here, yep, same as always. What does it do? What does it get? Rob's right. He is kind of hard and painful to hold. At least the legs are. Yeah, that's alright. Could be a lot better. Story of my life. Then we have, well, yeah, it's pretty good actually as far as the rest of the articulation goes. And what damn knees do? Well, that's what they do. Do both of them do the same considering they're not the same sculpt? Okay, so this one does about that, and that one does about that. Yeah, they're more or less the same. And we have a rounded, sculpted hinge in the ankle with that and with that, as usual. And now he's ready to dance like a ballerina, like a black swan. And oh boy, we have came so far together because this is the final discussion at the end of the video. What do I think about this BMX Pads Batman, hand-me-down budget speed suit Flash, and Tar Spikes Black Flash, along with the three-wheeled Batcycle? Well, I likes them. I likes them a lot. The Batcycle is clearly the star of the show as far as I'm concerned. Out of all three figures, although Barry is the most interesting to look at, and Batman is a character that I like more than the other two, I would have to say that the figure I like the most today is the Black Flash. At any rate, they are all fine figures, and it is a fantastic Batcycle. If you find these guys hanging on the pegs, which they're already in stores, don't be afraid to pick these guys up and add them to your collection. Considering the price point, I think they're hella worth it. Anyway, that's all I have to say for now. Have a fantastic, super awesome DC day, and take care.